My name is Frank Christensen, and I'm the coordinator of officials for IFAF in Europe. And this is a special edition of our game training tape. We're looking at the game between the European Championship game between Hungary and Israel. But we're not focusing primarily on mechanics. In this edition, we'll be looking at some no calls, not to pick on the officials or to look at how this was missed, but rather why it was missed and how we can improve our mechanics so that we don't miss these situations in the future. And now, let's have a look at the game film.
All right, Einar here, play number one, we're looking at not the hit on the quarterback, so disregard that. We're looking at the runner, or rather, the players tackling the runner. So B20 comes up here, and right there his helmet comes off. Now he's pretty quick in putting his helmet back on, but, you know, like we talked about, one of the things that often gets us into trouble is that we have too many eyes, too many officials looking at the runner, looking at the ball. And you know, here we were talking about the umpire is coming in right there. He has a pretty good angle at the helmet on the ground, and a head without a helmet. The referee, we don't know what he's looking at, but he could also have a fairly good view at it. I would say most likely the back judge could have a pretty good view. And what do you think, Einar, the wing over there?
Yeah, most likely I think he would have a good view. You can see some players between 20 and the sideline, but so our angle isn't perfect to tell for sure. But I think that the wing official could probably see it too. Seems like we have a lot of people focusing on the runner, and we should think of it like circles. If you're covering the runner, you have the small circle, which is the runner and the player tackling the runner, and then the next circle is those players around the runner and the tackler, and that's if you're the, let's say for example, the referee or the umpire in this case, that's your circle. So who's just outside of it, and 20 is just outside of that. Yeah. So if we're not all focusing on the ball, then we should probably be able to pick this one up.
Yeah. And as soon as we see that helmet on the ground or that head without a helmet, you know, the best thing we can do is get in there quickly, identify that it's actually B20, so that, you know, once he puts on his helmet, if we don't know who it is, now it's too late.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you know that's gonna be what we're looking at throughout this training tape is who should be looking somewhere other than the ball and the runner. So let's move on and have a look at some of the next plays here. All right, Einar, here's next play. It's a false start of sorts.
Indeed it is.
And there's a reason we started with the huddle.
Yeah, we can see that the offense is never set before the snap, and unfortunately, we'll let this one go. We have at least two officials, both wing officials, should be able to pick this up with potentially some help from the referee. When you have people milling it around, by people I mean players, make sure that you have a sort of, you can't just focus on the ball. You have to have a sort of a loose vision that includes your areas of responsibility, but also you have to be aware of all this movement going on, and not just focus down on a small part of the formation or something. You have to be aware of this movement that goes on, so we can shut this down. And primarily, I think this is a wing call primarily, but it doesn't have to be only a wing call. On our play in this case, we have a movement between the tackles, so certainly the referee knows that there's movement in the backfield, and the referee also should know that they've never been set. So Potentially also the center judge could be a part of it, but we have 3 or potentially 4 officials that could have taken care of this one.
Yeah, good point. And again, who should be looking where is our focus point in this training tape, so that also applies here. All right, Einar, here's a different kind of false start. It's still a false start, but it's a different kind. And we're looking at the tight end right there.
The tight end and the defensive player heads up against the tight end, or perhaps he's a little bit on the outside. But anyway, the guy in front of the tight end. And as you can see, we have movement by the defense, and then we have a flinch, a reaction by the offense, by the tight end. And we don't really know who's in the neutral zone or not. It doesn't really matter. We have movement, so we're going to have something. It's going to be a false start, most likely, or it could be an NZI offside against the defense. But either way, we got to get these flinches like this. We have to call them. We can't ignore them in our search for having games with few flags. These have to be called. And it's important that we, as wing officials, we take care of everything on our side of the ball. That's our primary. We try to focus on the ball, including the ball, and everything to our side. That's our primary focus. And when we do that, we, of course, we have to know where the ball is. We have to, but we can't just focus on the ball. We have to have sort of I don't really know how to describe it, sort of a loose focus where we do see the ball, but we see movement on all players on either side of the ball. So we don't just focus in like a scope. We have to have a sort of a loose focus so we catch movement.
Yes, that's a really good point, and I think what you also say is only look at your side of the ball, because once you start looking at something on the other side of the ball, then you really need to focus on something, and then you miss either the tight end or the receiver closest to you, because it's so far from your focus that we end up missing it. So
there could certainly be situations where it's okay for you to help on something on the other side of the ball, but we want to make sure that the guy closest to the action is the primary to rule on that action. So on most plays, that means that you take your side of the ball, and your colleague on the other side takes his or her side of the ball.
Excellent. All right, next play is not a false start, but it's still a really interesting one. So let's move on. So as advertised, here's an interesting play. Not that the false starts weren't interesting, but now we get the back judge involved also, and the referee, two of my favorite people. So behind the goalpost here, if you can see my mouse, is the play clock, and we have to assume that there is one at the other end also, and it's already below 10. This was a touchdown play, so the offense is they're a little late coming in, but you can kind of see over there that the play clock is running down. That looks like it could be a 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, 0, 0, and we don't have a call from the back judge. Now we end up getting a call from the referee, which is good. If we have to get it, so it's good that the referee noticed and called it. But ideally, we should have this called by the back judge. He should be in charge of this, and this should be part of the pre-snap or the dead ball officiating. That we keep an eye on that play clock, and as soon as it hits 0 and they're nowhere close to snapping the ball, that we actually call this. So again, kind of like the false starts, who needs to be looking where, And here, there's not a whole lot of doubt that this is the back judge responsibility, and we need to call this. Luckily, the referee did.
Normally, we of course prefer to stay in our assigned areas, and normally we wouldn't want the referee to get involved with this. But in this case, I think he does absolutely the right thing. The clock has been down to 0 for quite some time, and it's really telling everyone that a foul has been committed, and it's so visible. Anyone can see it, and it needs to be called. So I think the referee did a good job, and this is in his line of view, so I understand it's easy for him to see. So this is a good decision by the referee.
Yeah, absolutely. And anyone on the crew really could call this. If your internal clock goes off and said, "Well, why is this taking so long?" And you look down at the play clock and it hits 0 and nothing happens. Anybody could call it if the calling official for some reason misses it. So that's a good point. All right, Einar, now we get into some really serious stuff. The last 4 plays, we've got personal foul type action that is missed, and not to pick on these officials, but let's have a look at what we can do, how we can improve so that we can catch this. And after this play, here comes green 34 and cleaning off the pile, and we missed this. So
it's sort of the same thing as our first play with the helmet off. That what it seems like is that we don't have anyone covering the next circle. That's the way we described it on the first play, and I think that's a good way to describe it. Who is covering the next circle just outside the runner? And of course, there are more circles than that as well. There's more stuff to cover than just that, but that is the case in this situation.
Yeah. And we'll get back to that on the later plays, I think. But here, certainly, we have 1, maybe 2 officials looking at the runner, which means that we have 6, maybe 7 officials who should be looking at the next circles, who should be looking at what else is going on, who is coming down the field with too much speed, or at least more speed than the other. And here is this guy coming in with too much speed. So in this specific situation, maybe the referee can see it. We don't really know, but he certainly should be cleaning up from his angle. Everybody in front of the play, the 3 deeps, the umpire, the center judge, nothing's going on in front of the ball. So all of those 5 guys should be cleaning up, looking at is somebody coming in with too much speed, somebody coming in doing that basically. So that's really a challenge for us, is to not look at the ball, and I think we'll see the same in the next clip. Different play, same result almost. Here we have a punt, and we'll end up with a blindside block, an illegal blindside block. So let's just run it through right there. So let's have a look and kind of dissect what we need to do. So if we start with the deep guys, they're primarily responsible for a lot of this stuff. So up until this point, the back judge is looking at the returner. As soon as he catches the ball, the back judge, drop your beanbag, so we've got the PSK spot. Other than that, start looking at blocks. You have no responsibility anymore for the runner. So you are looking blocks in front of the play. For the deep wings, you have been looking at blocks up until this point. Now the return starts. Now you are also responsible for the returner. And this is where it becomes tricky, because we don't really care too much about the returner. It's going to be 1st and 10 wherever he ends up. So, the really good deep wings, and certainly what we hope to have at the IFAF level, are deep wings that can know where the returner is, but also look at blocks in front of the play. So that right here,
Or behind the play.
Or behind the play, well, north of the play.
Yeah.
Still. So if you can see my mouse, this is the guy, 99, comes in and just levels the guy. Now we missed this, but we certainly should have had a back judge. I would really like the field judge to also catch this.
And just to make sure, field judge on this, in this case, is closest to the
yes, good point.
Camera. Even though you have the stance on the other side, yes, there's no confusion. The closest deep wing is who we're talking about.
Thank you.
And we could also have, or at least hope for, or potentially get some assistance from the umpire, or even in this case, the line judge, the closest wing. And for them, the challenge might be that there's a lot of players between them and the actual foul. But I think the key there is just the fact that there are players that are closer to you is, well, they can be shielding you, of course. They can be in front of you and making it difficult to see because you can't see through people. That's fair. But just because there are players close to you doesn't mean that those are necessarily the ones that you should focus on. You're looking for this movement against the grain. That's the thing you're looking for. Just players running are of no great interest to us. So try to look beyond those if you can.
Yeah, and again, we've got one or two officials who are supposed to look at the ball, the runner. Everybody else should be looking at blocks. Different play, but really the same principles apply here. We've got an unnecessary roughness after the play dies. So we'll just let it run. And here comes a guy flying in. Now this was called by the line judge correctly so, but Einar, you had a point on the linesman and the umpire.
Well, the line judge makes a correct call, as we all can see. Now, linesman has an equally good opportunity to see this. Actually, perhaps even better because it's even closer to him. Well, be that or as it may, at least it opens up very clearly to the linesman.
Yeah.
And the umpire, which we can't see quite yet, he'll be coming in from the left-hand side, should also have a real good look at this. And it seems like it's a possibility that we are focusing too much on the runner and sort of decide, okay, the play's over and let's get the ball and let's get the next play going. But, we have to, fouls can happen at any time. We have to have this wider angle. We have to think about these circles that we're talking about, who has the outside circle. And on this play, when it happens so close to the runner, even if you have the runner, this should still be something that you're able to call. So we just have to make sure that we don't focus too much into the pile. We have this slightly wider angle view on things.
Well, I know we've managed to get to the last play of the training tape.
How about that?
Yeah, and I know you have some comments about the linesman and the umpire here.
Yeah, this is sort of going along with the theme for this video. You can see 61 coming in there, cleaning off the pile, and it's a personal foul that we need to get. And it's you can see a lot of common denominators with this play and the other plays that we've been talking about. So who's in position, who's in charge to see this? Linesman is, of course, covering the runner, and this happens in such close proximity to the runner that we would want normally the linesman to get this. Now I can see on this play he might be shielded. There might be players between him and this actual contact, but normally this is something that if you're covering the runner and this happens, you should have a loose focus enough to pick it up. On this play, the umpire seems to be in a very good position to see this. So we can guess that perhaps he's focusing a little bit too much on the runner. Again, this looser focus, this second circle just outside the runner, that's often where the umpire needs to have his eyes. The umpire's not going to have a progress spot on this one. We're not in a hurry to get the ball. Keep this loose vision, and we should probably be able to pick this one up.
Yeah, very good point. I'll see your umpire, and I'll raise you 2 or 3 deep officials here, because there's not really a whole lot going on with the receivers and the defensive backs. So any one of the three deep guys could also be looking at this, and we don't know if they're looking at the runner. I hope not, and that's really the message today here is unless you're a wing who is responsible for the runner, once in a while when you catch yourself looking at the ball, looking at the runner, stop it and start looking at some blocks instead. Like you said, the circles is a good way to look at it, but also, look at blocks. If you're not responsible for the runner, look at blocks, and that's what we're hoping that it's come across in this training tape, so that we have better coverage and catch more of these fouls that this crew unfortunately missed. And that was it for this training tape. Einar, thank you for all your good comments.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I hope everybody can use it. And good luck out there on the field.